good, the bad, and the ugly. It's the first week of hockey edition. And we'll hop right into it. We'll have Habs and NHL, good, bad, and ugly this week. I'll go through the Habs quickly since the first segment was pretty much about how the Habs did this first week. So the good, Gallagher, I don't think I have to say why. Weber, I don't think I have to say why. Montoya, dethroning Carey Price. Emelin, hitting everything that moves. Petrie, showing up from an injury and scoring goals. Fabulous. The Desharnais line, as I explained in this segment before, probably the best line of the Montreal Canadiens. And the fourth line, who are playing like a fourth line and contributing offensively. All in the good. So that was the Habs section of good. Now let's go to the NHL. And unfortunately for this week, I have to already break one of my rules. Last week or the week before, I said I would always include any Boston Bruin or Toronto thing in the bad. But, you know, Austin Matthews this week, I have to put him in the good and keep him in the good. Because, you know, I don't think we'll ever see a first game like that ever again. 4 goals. Could have had more. I watched that game. Could have had more. And what he brings to this team is unbelievable. Toronto looks completely transformed. Every line is playing completely different because of this guy, I think. And I predicted they wouldn't finish last this year, but they'd be in the bottom. I regret that prediction. They could play probably better than I think. This guy's the real deal. And for Hab fans, you know, probably belongs in the bad just for that, if not the ugly. Ugly. You know, this guy is going to be hurting us for many, many years to come. But can't deny talent and skill like that. Definitely belongs in the good. And on that same vein, unfortunately, Brad Marchand, who came out of a great World Cup and hasn't stopped. Ironically, in a past episode, I said maybe I'd stay away from that player because he would go very high all of a sudden. Well, whoever picked him is laughing. However, I will point out that whoever picked Bergeron isn't, because last game Bergeron got injured. So we'll see how that affects Marchand. I mean, it can't not affect him. We'll see if he can keep up that pace. But you got to give kudos, you know. Marchand, too, came out roaring. Other players that came out roaring, Connor McDavid. You know, here's a kid who just got the captaincy, has all the pressure in the world to turn this franchise around. If not this year, very soon. But, you know, people hope this year as well. And kind of in the vein of Austin Matthews, you know, the real deal again. You know, came out roaring. He's got the talent, scoring great goals. I have nothing, you know, firmly implanted in the good. And last but not least, PK Subban. I think you've heard of him. Defenseman on Nashville if you haven't. Played a great opening game. You know, scored a power play goal. You know, PK was being PK. And a lot of good happens when PK is being PK. However, this is a perfect segue into the bad section because he also belongs in the bad. And people say, oh, what did he do bad? Here we go. Well, actually, I'm going to focus on his play as opposed to his personality. Excuse me. And PK was being PK. And with 5 minutes left in the game, PK took a really stupid penalty. And again, that's PK being PK. That's certainly not something I will miss about PK. And when it happened, I laughed because, you know, anyone who watched the Nashville game will definitely, you know, we saw the good and the bad of PK. But there's more good than bad for PK. There's no doubt about that, especially when you have a lot of emotion flowing through you. It was a very good game, intense game. So PK Subban, though, that penalty with 5 minutes left was, you know, typical PK. So that was bad. As well in the bad, let's switch back to the Habs. Plekanec, who I explained pulled off his magician disappearing trick, playing defense at -1. Sergachev, as we explained earlier as well, you know, bad start. 18 years old. I can live with it. It's not the end of the world. Carey Price was put on the IR. I'm just putting that in the bad because it should even be in the ugly. Anytime Carey Price is put on injured reserve is pretty much a nightmare scenario, even if it's for one day. Well, it can't be for one day, but I think Hab fans know what I'm getting at. So at the minimum, it belongs in the bad. Should be back tomorrow, though. So it's knock on wood for that one. Montreal face-offs. Our inability to win them, apart from Darnay, is concerning. If we don't win face-offs, it's going to be hard to win hockey games in the long run. Got to fix that. And the referees, my good friends, the NHL referees, who they're back to managing hockey games. Things that are being called in the first are not being called late in the third. And the inconsistency is quite a sight to behold, but I think all hockey fans are pretty much used to NHL referees, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to mention it. Doesn't mean it doesn't annoy the crap out of me every single game I watch. And in the bad you go. So let's move to the ugly, because believe it or not, there's quite a bit in the ugly this week. I'm going to start with the Buffalo game, actually, against Montreal. And this is an ugly that you just can't prevent. It's no one's fault. It's just ugly, though. And the second period, it was almost injury fest, if not an injury fest. Mitchell, during a power kill, took a puck to the face. I believe it deflected off his visor and saved his life. But when I saw that, I was like, oh my God. And then Sergachev took a puck to the throat. I think it was literally minutes later. And I had a second oh my God moment. It's almost unbelievable. I was really worried about Sergachev. He didn't look good on the bench. He was, touching his throat and you just don't want to, 18-year-old top draft pick taking a puck to the throat in his first friggin' NHL game. I was like, this cannot be happening. However, apparently they're okay, so there's no problems there. Thank the Lord. And Kane, a few minutes later as well, working hard to get a puck, and in a freak play just goes crashing into the boards in a position, and the reaction after, just, he's hurting. He's hurting. You don't know what it is, but that's just, it's got ouch written all over it. Anyways, for about 10 minutes of hockey there, I was just white-knuckling it with the possible injuries / real injuries that occurred. Now, Kane ended up being the only real injured player. He's got cracked ribs, which is terrible news for the Buffalo Sabres. Cracked ribs is a week-to-week injury. There's nothing you can really do to heal it. It just heals with time. And they needed Kane. I mean, Kane was actually one of the better-looking players on the ice. I don't even like Kane. I think he has attitude problems. I don't want to really get into that. But he was looking good that first game. And he was working hard to get that puck, and he just went funny into the boards. And that was just ugly second period in Buffalo. We went into the intermission. I was just so thankful that everyone was alive. So firmly implanted in the ugly. I guess it ended up being a good for the Habs, though, because both our guys are okay. Moving along in the ugly, I'm going to put, I'm not sure who to put it because I'm not sure what show it was on. It might have been on Dave Morissette's show, but I'm going to say it's TV Espal just because it's on that channel. But it was Dave Morissette's show, I'm pretty sure. And the ugly for here is they have this segment after the game where it's Dave Morissette, José, Theodore, and Mike Bossy, who go pick up some hockey sticks and go into this mini hockey rink. And it's this rink that they constructed. It's maybe 10 feet by, 6 feet. It's tiny, and they stand there with their sticks and they try to explain a play that happened. And, José Theodore tries to explain it from the point of view of the goaltender. Sorry, I'm just shaking my head here because I'm going to get to my point here. And basically they're all three at this play. This thing is so tiny. All three of them are standing in front of each other trying to explain what happened behind them. And I mean, I just don't get it. I mean, really, I just, I know NFL football does that, where they build this little football, ground, and three of them come out and they have a ball and they try to explain, and it's just as stupid as when they do it in football as when they do it in hockey. I would even argue it's a little stupider in hockey because, I mean, these guys are football players, right? So so there's three guys just standing in front of each other with sticks, and there's 10 players missing here. You're trying to explain what's going on around you. There's two guys standing in front of you holding sticks, fully dressed with ties and gold watches, and it's just, what are you doing? I mean, really, you're just wasting our time at this point with some stupid friggin' gimmick. Every hockey fan would be much better served with literally, you would take out a chalkboard, with a pen, and explain the play that way. Here's a crazy idea: do an instant replay breakdown where you circle things on the screen. Why'd you get rid of that? That worked well, because then at least there's 10 other players on the ice and I can get a feel of what's going on. Anyways, if I got to watch these guys simulating plays on this tiny miniature rink all year, it just belongs in the ugly. It's silly, it's miniature, and it's amateur. Leave that for football. Leave it for the football guys pretending they're deking play guys out, living their past glories. I don't need to say, I mean, at least give us a butterfly drop, Theodore, Moving along in the ugly. And these segues are perfect. José Theodore and PK Subban. And this one's a doozy because I'm going to catch my breath on this one. I don't know if anyone watched the Nashville game. Great game. Chicago-Nashville. PK Subban was playing. His first game for Nashville. And PK Subban, like I said earlier, was being PK Subban. Was playing with a lot of exuberance, a lot of energy, intensity. Was involved in a lot of scrums. And he scored a huge power play goal for them. And as you can imagine, PK Subban being PK Subban, he freaked out and did his fist pump in the center ice thing. And, the place went absolutely ballistic. And any PK Subban fan got their popcorn's worth during that game. And however, I will say this, though. The second period ends, and we're treated to Monsieur Bergeron and José Theodore. And José Theodore pretty much almost had an aneurysm about the way PK Subban celebrated. Now, it was kind of funny, and because it started with Bergeron praising PK Subban's play. Bergeron was very impressed with PK Subban. And if anyone knows Bergeron does not hesitate to criticize if needed. But Bergeron was very impressed with PK. I believe he said PK was being PK. I know this keeps coming up because it's kind of important here. So it goes to José Theodore. And José Theodore is not happy. And he just doesn't understand what PK Subban is thinking. How he could be so disrespectful to his teammates with his celebration of his goal after he scored his goal by turning around and, skating to the center of the ice and fist pumping. And José Theodore just does not understand how that could happen, how such an injustice occurred. And he is saying so not in a very logical, I'm pointing out to you way. He is yelling this at Michel Bergeron, pretty much just yelling this. And Bergeron's like, but PK played well, and, kind of chuckling like, I don't quite, and he's just losing it. Doesn't understand how a guy on a new team could act this way. You're the new guy in the dressing room. You're supposed to act with dignity and class and respect. And he's just beside himself, just absolutely beside. I'm actually amused at this point. And the segment ends, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like, wow, did that just really happen? Well, it did. And the more I thought about it, the more it got me upset. What just happened? I don't understand. PK Subban is playing one of his better games, and José Théodore is having a lights out session on him. And I just don't get it. PK was being PK. Where has José Théodore been these last 6-7 years? Has he been covering some other hockey league or some other team? Or I just don't understand. If I told you PK Subban scored in his first game with Nashville and didn't pump his fist, I think that would surprise more people than he did. But apparently Joss is, and I'm going to call him Joss because I've called him Joss my whole life. Sorry, you might hear that a few times, José. But Joss is shocked. He's shocked that PK Subban is acting this way. Where have you been, Joe? I don't get it. I just don't get it. Where have you been these last 6-7 years when he's been doing this on a regular basis at the Bell Center? In case you haven't been paying attention, Joss, just in case, there's another move. Get ready for this one where he scores and he goes and he jumps into the glass. And you might want to think about that one because, he might skate away from teammates there too. And it might be seen as disrespectful by you too. Not to mention that it's a complete insult to Nashville and their entire organization, because that assumes that Nashville had no clue this was the kind of player they were going to get. Nashville had no idea that PK Subban was going to be PK Subban, according to José Théodore. If we're going to follow his logic. Unbelievable. And it's kind of funny, too, because at the end of the game, he could have had a good reason to freak out on PK Subban, which was PK Subban was being PK Subban and took a bad penalty. And there's a perfect opportunity to yell at the screen, like, why are you taking a bad penalty and threatening to have your team tie and possibly lose in the last minutes of the game? Now, there's a reason to get mad, but no. He's going to get mad at how he scored a really important power play goal. Yeah, Nashville had no idea PK Subban was going to pump his fists and be PK Subban, And why in the world is TVA Sport promoting Nashville games with a guy who possibly might do this every time the Nashville Predators play? Because I don't see PK Subban stopping being PK Subban. I'm sorry, Joss. It's not going to happen. Why do you have this guy who can't keep his crap together, on the Nashville broadcast? Because I guarantee you this, there's more people watching this broadcast that like PK Subban, and they're watching it because they want to see him play and they like his game, than there are haters. Yes, there are some haters who want to watch him fail, and that didn't happen the other night. I mean, José, come on, man. You're really coming in from like a far left field here. Really coming in far, and I was about to say at the the funny part is here's how disrespectful it was to the teammates of Nashville. They have a tradition of they have a chain that they give to the MVP of the game that's voted by the players. Guess who got it? PK Subban. So they seem to be pretty happy with him. Now, I don't know, maybe over time they'll get annoyed with him, but they know at least what they have. And if that ends up bothering them, well, like it's bothering José Théodore, obviously, well, that's their own problem. But something tells me Nashville knows what they're doing a little more than José Théodore. And Not to mention, I mean, José Theodore. This is the same guy who after he signed his big contract with the Montreal Canadiens, immediately went out and bought 2 diamond earrings. I believe it was 2, or was it 1? Well, he bought diamond earrings and wore them proudly during at least one season, and then I think he was told he had to take them off. I mean, for a guy with, if I may say, has such flair, in quotation marks, for him to be criticizing another man's flair, and that is what it is. It's flair. That's all it is. It's flair. You score a goal, you get excited, you show flair, is beyond hypocrisy. I mean, talk about throwing rocks in glass houses, José. Maybe you should just go home and leave the Nashville broadcast alone. Maybe, you should stay at home, watch it on TV, and get mad at your TV, while you're polishing your diamond earrings. Maybe that's a better place for you. Because, José, and here I'm talking to more of the haters in general of PK Subban, eventually you're going to get called out for hating for different reasons. You could hate a player's play, you can even hate his personality, but eventually it's going to go too far. And if this is as flimsy of a thing as that's going to piss you off, you watched him celebrate this way for 7 years, you have absolutely nothing to stand on. And José, that's why you're firmly implanted this week in the ugly. Really disappointing. Keep him off the Nashville broadcast, please. On behalf of all PK Subban fans, TVA, José could stay home. Send him to the miniature rink where he can play with his friends. Anyways, that's all for this week. I think it's a good way to end. It's a good little rant. I was really disappointed in José. I really didn't expect people to criticize PK in the second, especially in the second intermission, because he hadn't taken that penalty yet. Up to that point, he had played literally a perfect game. So to have someone so upset just seems so out of place and so just wrong and weird. I really don't understand it. I'm surprised it didn't get as much coverage, or I didn't hear it. I don't know. But José Theodore, firmly implanted in this week's ugly, and I'm gonna keep watching those Nashville games because yikes. So go Habs go. Let's hope they keep winning this week and keep it up. I think they will get better. I'm hoping they get better, because if they get worse, they're going to start losing hockey games. Carey Price is coming back, so we have our number 1 in nets, hopefully at some point this week, if not by the end of the week. And we can get to some much more, hockey that I can live with, to be honest. I don't feel great right now about how the Canadiens are playing. I'm happy with the 3 points, and I'll bank them. And I wish everyone an absolutely wonderful week. And we'll see you next week on the Angry Habs Fan Podcast Show. Take care.